This has got a fairly strange tempo to it so far. Both players not really able to get in there and start doing any real damage to each other. I would expect a Templar transition out of Naniwa pretty soon, actually, making ThorZain overcommit on these Vikings. Considering if he had an observer in there, he would see the two reactor starports right next to one another, both pumping out Vikings. Here's a small engagement in the middle. Neither player really wants to commit too hard, as you can see a little bit of dancing back and forth. Nice EMPs, but the sentries still all have energy. So he still has a lot of force fields left, and ThorZain, if you can see that, should not engage right there. Should just wait to heal up his bio, wait for his medevac energy to build up just a little bit. He needs more medevacs on the field, quite honestly. He only has 2. You need more like 6 or 8 if you can afford it. So we can see a lot more stuff coming down here from ThorZain. This looks like 3 more barracks on the way. Here comes the Templar transition right now from Naniwa, as we were expecting. The Ghost Mobius reactor is now on the way, giving the Ghost extra energy when they spawn. +1 attack on ThorZain's Vikings is almost done as well. Both of these players are flirting with max, and I would expect a pretty large engagement here in the next about minute or so out of both of these players. We can see both of them posturing. ThorZain needs to just buy time to get more Vikings out. He cannot afford to engage right now, but he's going to fight these Stalkers anyway as he catches a little bit of them off guard. He does see the entire army of Naniwa with that scan. Naniwa just throwing down a bit of defensive spells here. Nice EMP all over the sentries. There's still 1 sentry that has energy remaining, but 1 sentry against this big army is not going to do a ton. Here's a huge battle in the middle of the map here. Naniwa looks like he has the advantage. Vikings are pressing forward in order to try to kill the Colossus. Very nice stutter step micro out of ThorZain on this bio. You can see ThorZain has jumped ahead in the supply, so very nice work with his units. Naniwa has to retreat. There's 1 Colossus in the red that might still get caught. He needs to really be careful with that. And no, it does die to Viking fire. So ThorZain pressing in here, being quite aggressive. You can see a random force field coming down as that's all he had. Another Colossus is going to fall on the next Viking shot. Bang, there it goes. It falls over awkwardly. And ThorZain needs to be a little careful here, but he does have the superior force on the field. As we can see, the supplies greatly favor ThorZain. Just I don't think all of his army is with him right now. So, and his Marauders are getting pretty low into the orange. All his medevacs are out of energy, so he really needs to be careful. I'd really like to see him pick up and just get out of there right now. But he's sticking with it. Getting +3 on his attack. +3 armor I would expect to come up here any second on his bio. 4 Templar are now on the field. Storm is not quite done yet, though, so I would imagine those are going to be Archons right away. And yes, there they go. They do meld. ThorZain, you need to be careful here. You cannot press in like this. I would retreat with this, honestly. If I were him, I would retreat right now. He has no medevac energy. All these units are in the yellow and orange. It's just not a place you really want to be right now, and Naniwa still has a reasonable amount of punching power. His Zealot number is starting to swell. His Templars are coming up, and he does, I'm pretty sure he knows Archons are out. That scan may have seemed random, but he was actually scanning for observers to see if Naniwa could actually see this. But I think if Naniwa did see the lack of energy on his medevacs, he would be pretty confident and just trying to do a little bit more damage to keep those medevacs on no energy until he has a better force on the field. These Vikings need to be kind of careful. They don't get anything done, and a couple of them die. But a little bit of posturing here. There's no sentries on the field right now for Naniwa, which I kind of think is a good decision since you really need some power-punching units right now. In terms of macro, ThorZain's 4th is going down here on the mini-map. I want to stay on this army so I can see any engagements that might go on. Looking around, Naniwa has his 4th set up. Looks like the 2 armies are starting to drift away from each other a little bit. Naniwa has nothing in production right now, which is kind of rare. Now 3 Zealots. Here comes ThorZain advancing to this 3rd. It's going to get cut off by Naniwa, though. Nice EMPs go down, draining this Archon of all of its energy. Another EMP goes down, but he did not hit the Templars. Now he hits the Templars. Some really good EMP work there from ThorZain, choking up all these Zealots at the one spot. But this whole force is going to die. And this is why I would have gone home, to try to just get out of there with all these units. They just don't have the kind of staying power that you would need. And all of a sudden, Naniwa is up by about 30 supply on ThorZain right now. ThorZain really needs to be careful. His macro is starting to slip, as we can see. His 3rd is well saturated, but he is mined out of his natural. His main is almost mined out. He has very little mining right now, so I think he was just overextending himself a little too much with that army. The Templar numbers are starting to grow for Naniwa, and this is a very, very menacing force right now. ThorZain needs some really great EMPs and really good army control to win this fight. You can see the EMPs almost killed the Archon, and down it goes. He does focus fire it very nicely. Naniwa is still just being cautious. He doesn't want to squander his lead. He's going to go ahead and take another Nexus. So we can see his one over here actually got lost. Must have been to a drop or something that we missed. Or at least I missed it. Maybe it was just plainly on the screen and I didn't see it, which is always a possibility. Naniwa's force is very, very scary right now. Look at all these Templars hanging out. All these Colossus. He needs to keep his Templars separated so they don't get EMP'd. But he does get a Storm off, which is very important. If you can use his Templar energy for anything, then it's very important. One Templar eats an EMP, which is a very good trade. This Colossus is joining up with his army. All these ghosts really need to be careful. All the ghosts are going to go down, and there's still a couple of Templar in the back with some energies. You can see it floating around on the bars right here. Naniwa is just slowly gaining position, moving in on ThorZain's territory. ThorZain, he's in a lot of trouble right now. All of his bios really down. His medevacs have no energy once again, and I think ThorZain is going to lose this first game, which is unfortunate for him. He just kind of ran out of gas, even though he had a huge lead. Here's the Ghost Cloaking coming down, but it's just way too late for any of that kind of stuff. More Stalkers are rallying, and Naniwa's going to clean this up. That should be a good game. It is right there. So Naniwa takes game one, as we could see there. A very interesting game. That's one classic example of if you get too aggressive with your army and you're relying on these medevacs to keep them healed. The medevacs only have so much energy. You need to be careful and make sure you don't overcommit. And when ThorZain was sitting right here with his bio, all of his units were in the orange and yellow, so very low health. And he did not get good SCV transfers. He didn't knock down the rocks, so it was a combination of his macro slipping and keeping his army out there for too long. If he had fallen back, focused more on his macro, he would have been actually pretty far ahead in that game. But he let it slip, and Naniwa came back and made him pay for it. So Naniwa usually makes very few mistakes. But we'll see what happens in game two. Which should be coming up right after this. Stay